by the rivers of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Giving glory to the Most High, King of the universe, for all things and everything, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thanking the Creator of heaven and earth for life, and I pray that the Most High, King of the universe, be with us all. Giving thanks to the Most High God for the leadership of our congregation, even Chief Prince Yeriel Ben Yissaskar, praying that the Most High God be with him and his family, his household, and bless him. And I pray that the Most High God be with each and every one of you out there. I say Shabbat Shalom to all of you, and I pray that the Most High God will continue to be with you all and bless you. To all the listeners online, thanking the Most High God also for your lives, and I pray that the Creator will continue to bless you all. At this moment, we're going to move straight ahead, and I'm going to pass it on to the person who's going to be, like always, conducting this segment, and that's none other than my teacher and my mentor, even Nasik Zurishaddai Ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
All right, great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praise to the Supreme Time Universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Due respects to the platform on D.C.B channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Yeriel Ben Yissaskar, the host, Chief Uziel, Princess, Chief Rabbinate, Kohanim, Marine, brothers and sisters, visitors, I greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, early Shabbat Shalom. Adonai Septadi Takofia Giti Lateka, O Lord, on my lips, and my mouth should declare that praise. First of all, I'd like to say, I noticed that when I looked at, you might see two Psalms of 36, but for two different syndromes. So last week's Psalm was Psalms 3. So for those that might have been saying, when we was covering 36, Psalm 3, and you see the number 36, you say, well, I don't see that, but it was actually Psalms 3, just to make a little bit of correction in that area. It was Psalms 3. The week before that was Psalms 36. And also, I like to point out, I've seen a couple of comments in reference to, I think the brother named YAH, and mentioned about the symbolism of the six, what we call the 6-point star, commonly called, but it's actually, sometimes it's Shield of David. And he said it was, I said, with symbolisms, you have no ending of meanings and correlations. But he pointed out that, he was told that it meant, was $2, and, the way it's written in old script, what they consider the old printing of Hebrew, which you will find maybe in a book like this book here. I don't know if you can see it that well, but in the back of the book, they have, some of the script that's one of my mentors from many years ago who passed on, Shalom Alai, Chief Barak, introduced as a writing for Israelites, and during the time of the late Pop Bibbins that founded the school on 125th Street. So the way it was written, just to clarify, is that the dollar is written to the side, to the left. So it's not written, facing up and facing down. That's why a lot of times I would say two triangles, equilateral triangles, one pointing up, one facing down, and give you that one meaning. But it's okay if if you want to, look at it and view it as the script of $2. But that's just for the individual. You go with symbolism, you can always come with many kinds of interpretations and metaphors and relationships to it, or correlations to it. But that's for those that want to, know that the dollar is actually going, when you write it in Hebrew, it's an equilateral triangle, but it's facing to, if you're facing it and you're writing it down, it's going towards your left, not going up or down. So that I was focused on that as well. So I hope I made myself a little bit more clear. And then because I might say one thing about a symbolism or interpretation or viewpoint, that's not necessarily the only viewpoint, and I don't have to be right on a lot of viewpoints as well. I always, say any mistakes might be my own. This week we'll be covering the psalm we'll be doing will be 140, the 140th psalm, in relationship to this particular sidra that we have in here, which is YAH, and which means and Jacob sent, or he sent, literally the word, and he sent messengers. And that starts from Genesis, the 32nd chapter, the fourth verse, and this portion goes all the way to the end of the 36th chapter, which has about 40-something verses in it, dealing with 43 verses to be exact. And I like to go back. In this particular portion, we're dealing with the actual, in the portion, we're actually dealing with the adventures of Yaakov, if you want to call it like that, because it's centered around Yaakov and his adventures as he began to leave home, on his way back to home, and then, what transpired in his first, encounters entering the homeland of his forefathers. So we read more about his adventures as an individual than read about any other patriarch in that sense. And we also had learned that, Yaakov was the first patriarch to actually have a dream, and address another question that was posted on there too as well. When he woke up from the dream and asked, called himself making a vow, and that day, as I said, which is a little different from Shavuot, making a vow to the Creator. At that time, we know people sometimes not certain, especially in a dream, when the Creator was addressing him and said and guaranteed that his safety, going and coming. And he said, I will not leave you till all is accomplished. So the Creator definitely would accomplish it, but he waking up at a dream because he was supposed to be asleep. So in a dream, you figure in most dreams, you usually have control of how the play goes through. All right. So he asked and made that contract with the Creator. And this is, we got to remember that was his first encounter with the Creator at that time. And so a lot of times we're not sure about certain things, and in that area. We find a similar thing with the first patriarch, Abraham, in the sense that Abraham, when he was told that he would have children, after the battle, of the four kings, and he rescued Lot and the people of Sodom, he only wanted proof about inheritance of the land. He didn't need proof about whether he's going to have children. So, and I explained in the past, I don't know if anybody's seen it lately, but Abraham, the great father, wanted proof, because if God is evicting a certain people in the land and said the iniquity is not fulfilled, then will my children be evicted from the land and never get back into the land? But see, the Creator promised us a perpetual spot. That's the difference, a perpetual spot in the land. So Abraham was wondering, and the proof about a perpetual spot in the land, about his children even inheriting the land, not whether you're going to have children or not, so to speak. So a lot of times, because of our own frailty and our own commitment to be able to stay on the right path sometime, which is going to be a key thing I'm going to bring into the Psalms itself today, is that sometimes we stumble and bumble. And you'll see some similarities between the Psalm and the Sidra. But I'd just like to bring out a couple of points in here that we know. The last thing we left off with, that that Jacob had made a peace with with his father-in-law Laban, and Laban had blessed the children and everything like that there, and they was on good terms. And then that Jacob swore by his God, the God of his fathers, and Laban swore by his God. You know, one of the strangest things, like I said, on the way from last week, was that how did Laban, you know, not only recognize a God that's not his and pursue of Jacob and also the idol gods that he worshiped, but also respected that God enough not to do any harm to Yaakov. So that's something that, you know, further discuss in those areas there, because he had a dream. And you know, and like I said before, why should I, you know, give you any respect? We found out later on when Moses told Pharaoh about God, he said, I don't know. Who's God I should listen to? You know, so we know that Laban was not as bad as Pharaoh in that area. Just his dream alone was enough. And he recognized, and he never said that was his God. He said that was Jacob's God. So now we go into the next episode, where after that, Jacob goes on and he's approaching home, and he winds up sending messengers. Now, a lot of times people look at the word messengers because Malachim in itself and a Malach, they look at it as a messenger. And sometimes you have a Malach with no message. We have to extrapolate a message, but no clear message is given. Similar with the Sulam, the ladder, angels going up and angels coming down, but no message ever given about the angels going up, no message given about the angels coming down. And what was their purpose? And like I said, we always have a lot of commentaries on what their purpose could have been. And we make a correlation between some of the episodes within the book, but it's not disclosed clearly. And like I said, since that's the only dream where there's no interpretation given, you know, reason that we could say it's just the reason why this dream come about. When Laban had a dream, we know the reason. When Pharaoh had a dream, we know the reason. When Abimelech had a dream, we know the reason. Later on, when Joseph had a dream, we have an idea of the reason. All right. Later on in history, when other people have dreams, like, you know, we have a reason. But with the ladder, dreaming about the ladder and the creator communicating, you know, at this time, we don't see the reason for those angels messages going up and down. All right. So that, you know, we come into this particular episode now where he sent angels. So a lot of people, some people might say, well, they are just messengers in Hebrew. All right. Well, what makes these guys, you know, and they would think of as normal men. But when you look at the story carefully, and I'm just going to read a couple because I'm pressed for time today. But it says in the 4th verse of the 32nd chapter, and Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, unto the land of Seir, the field of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, thus shall ye say unto my lord Esau, thus said thy servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now, and have oxen and asses and flocks, and men servant and maid servants, and I have sent to tell my lord that I may find favor in thy sight. And the messengers returned to Yaakov, saying, we came to thy brother Esau, and moreover he coming to meet thee with and 400 men with him. And then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. And then he goes on and he did 3 things. He divided the people that was with him and the flocks and the herds and the camels into 2 camps. And he said, if Esau come to the one camp and smite it, then the camp which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who didst say unto me, return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will do thee good. I am not worthy of all the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast shown unto thy servant. For with my staff I have passed over this Jordan, and now I am become 2 camps. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and smite me, the mother, with the children. And thou said, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. All right, now, As we stop right there, just to look at it a little bit. All right. He feared Esau, but he sent messages there. All right. What makes this thing so unique is that it said that he sent messengers, but when we find out later on, it's talk about that we came to that brother. All right, as it said, 7th verse said, and the messengers returned. So if he sent them, it never said that they even left. So how do you not say, well, okay, I'm sending messages, I'm sending messages to you, but did it say when he left or not? We only can assume from the verbiage that they left, before to Esau. And but it never said they left. And when we look into the Hebrew very closely, it never says that, but it says that clearly that they returned. So when did he send them? How did he send them? So that's just some of the striking things to talk about angels. And then when we talk about Malachim or Malach, the first time we find the uses of the term, it meant a supernatural being. And we find that, earlier in scriptures, with the term of with Sodom and Gomorrah. Then later on, we find it early used more so with Abraham when he was getting ready to sacrifice Isaac. So this will give you a hint. And then we know as we left off the last Sidra, he recognized two camps angelic beings, the camp of God and Machanaim. So we know there's supernatural beings there. We don't know where he drafted these individuals from to send them. Did he draft them from those camps, or how they wind up being part of his household when he divided only his household, but the other camps were already separate and divided. All right, so he made 3 moves of precaution. He prepared by dividing his assets up, preparing for war, and not only he divides assets up, he's preparing for war. And then last, he goes on and say, I got to pray to God. Sometimes a great man like that to say, I don't take anything for granted. I got to use all these 3 precautionary moves in order to be able to, get things, accomplished. So I'm not going to deal with my own merit. And then why would a man such as Esau want to Jacob wanted to appease Esau? Simply because the only reason I would appease an individual is that I did the individual wrong. I recognize I did it wrong. And then, mind you, it's been 20 years ago that he had fled, and he left fleeing. And then he reminded God, which is interesting, is that he left with a staff in his hand. So when he left with a staff in his hand, Isaac, when his wife was sent for by his father Abraham, he left, the servant left with royalty and wealth. How did Jacob go for a wife with nothing he could show that he's worth anything other than a staff in his hand? You think Isaac gonna send him off on a mission like that without saying, look, take some of this, take some of that. When Jacob himself, when he sent the children down to Egypt, he sent them down not broke, but with stuff. And then when he had to send them down another time, send them with double the money and stuff. So that's something to consider, some of the missing parts in this story, that how did Jacob wind up going looking for a wife with just a staff in his hand, and then say he even had a sack of food on his side. And then when he asked for food to eat, first thing, clothes on his back, that means he didn't have a change of garments. And then it said, and bring me back to my father's house in peace. Then he'll give him a tenth of all I had. So the 10th would be an implied that if I get anything, then you got that. So it's some of the things to consider as we go forward and look over the panic that Jacob had against his brother Esau. All right, so, but what's interesting as we go fast forward into this thing, we find that Jacob himself, he's left alone on the other side after he brought everybody across. All right, so when he left alone, he brought everybody across on the Yabok, which is say Jabok in English, Jabok. K. A little stream, a ford. He crossed the stream. The next thing you know, he wound up in the 25th verse of that same chapter. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. All right. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was strained as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for thou hast striven with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And the sun rose upon him as he passed over Peniel, and he leapt upon his thigh. Therefore, the children of Israel eat not the sinew of the thigh vein, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, until this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh, even in the sinew of the thigh vein. All right, now, this is the first dietary law that is changed, that it's become very specific for a particular people. And that's the descendants of Jacob. It's the first time a day. Now, we know Noah was given a dietary law, what they could eat, but the only thing they was not supposed to eat was blood. All right, so now here it is, we can, safely assume, because if they say pointed out about Abraham and stuff like that, and he said, a lot of people say he kept all the commandments of God, so he had to know about the dietary law. I will accept that, as being partial, but the definitively prove that I'll be stretching. Here we have a definitive dietary prohibition that was adopted by the children of Israel. Now, also one of the things, the question is asked of, what set this fight off? What was the issue that, did they bump into each other? And then, was he really wrestling with his issues that he had? Well, we know the fight was physical because he had a physical injury. We know he had a physical grip on some things. We could use a lot of metaphors in reference to the struggle that he had, the struggle within and without. Some people go to sleep with a struggle within and without. Some people toss and turn in their sleep, but then here, Yaakov is at night, and he have a struggle. And and a lot of episodes in his life took place at night, as we look at. So what was the issue and the fight was about? And then how would he settle just for a name change as a blessing? How would he settle for that? And how did he know this an individual being that he encountered was able to bless him? How would he know those things? Those are some things you got to discuss, amongst the teacher. I don't really have time to go any longer in that. I'm gonna try to be speeding just a little bit, but I'm gonna just stop off there in that area and just talk about when he did encounter Esau, that he bowed before him 7 times and stuff like that. And after that, he referred to that, said, that he's seen, if he found grace in the sight, like being in the presence of God. I'm just paraphrasing now, just to be a little quicker. And when he encountered him with the 7 vows, he looked more humble. He looked like a man beaten down. He don't look like he's just, accomplished individual other than just got, livestock and herds and cattle. We know also that, and like I said before, if Jacob wrestled with an angelic being, a supernatural being, and recognized it to be a supernatural being, and you read in the book of Hosea that in the 11th chapter, around the 3rd verse to the 5th verse, that Jacob wrestled with a godlike being, a man, a godlike being, an angel. All right, so you read that in the book of Hosea, the 11th chapter, the 3rd verse going into the 5th verse. So this was a supernatural being there that he actually wrestled with, according the prophets, and according to Jacob settling for a blessing. So now, as we look further into him settling for a blessing at this time, why would he be still worried about Esau? Because, like I said before, Esau was physically stronger than Jacob. So Esau already was an accomplished individual. Jacob feared that not so much for his own life being slain, but sometimes a person can hurt you by going again and hurting your loved ones, hitting you close to your heart, which is your children, something you work for, something you try to establish, and your wives. All right. And so this is something, sometimes you fear for the concern of other people that's around with you. But the 7 bowels that he had, they make a whole lot of correlation with that, with the 7 superior oaks and stuff of that nature. So it was 7 bowels that he had in that area. So I'm gonna move fast forward in that. We know that everything worked out between him and Esau, and that he didn't want Esau to hang around. So Esau wanted to leave some men to show that he wanted to protect them and everything like that, because you're traveling through territory that's rough, and you don't have an army. Esau have an army, and he conquered Mount Seir, which is no small task. And it was the field of Edom they referred to, but yet he's dwelling in Mount Seir in the mountains. We know later on that he didn't go that way, but he went to a place called Sukkot. So I'm just going to focus on one more major point in this thing, and skip on down to the Psalm. Let's talk about the Dinah, the only daughter that any other patriarchs had, which is Dinah, and that's in the 34th chapter. And I just want to bring this out, and I'll end on that. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had born unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, the prince of the land, saw her, and he took her and lay with her and humbled her. And his soul did cleave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel and spoke comfortably unto the damsel. And Shechem spoke unto his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. Now Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter, and his sons were in with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they came. All right, so now we know they struck a deal later on. All right, but it's always a controversy. I just want to fast forward because I don't have time to really go into the story. I'll probably visit next time. But Jacob himself at the time had one daughter, but yet when he met his brother, it mentions the sons, the 11 sons and their mothers, the handmaid and their sons, and the wives and their sons. It don't mention the daughter, all 11 sons. Why she wasn't mentioned? Where was she? Those are some of the questions you got to wonder. How come Esau didn't see Dinah? And usually a father is real close to their daughter. So why didn't see that? And then those are some of the things to think about, in those areas there. There's a lot, in this chapter. But one of the things I like to bring off also and have you consider is that she went to see the daughters of the land. So you say, well, why is she not escorted? Because she's not going into the marketplace. She's going where women hang out at. Could have been that she had the same spirit that her grandmother Sarah had, trying to convert souls and trying to be a leader amongst women. When we find a leader amongst women later on with Miriam, when she led the women after the Exodus, after they crossed the Sea of Reeds, the Yam Suf. So, and she led them in song and dance, the women. So she didn't lead the men. So could have been perhaps that Dinah herself was had that kind of spirit of a grandmother, so to speak, being the only daughter and going to see the daughters of the land, perhaps to share information about their lifestyle. But it's a shame that she was accosted and a lot of things like some people had this issue that she wasn't raped and everything like that, and a lot of issues like that. But this is the first case you read about a forced relationship. this is actually a forced relationship, which we call today rape. And the thing was that when she was raped, and one of the indications of it, for the word that's used anyway from the root word anah, which means to be, from the word punishing or, afflicted, that we find that if it wasn't so, if she was really as consensual, there's no need for Shechem to try to speak comfortably with her if she was in agreement with that. So this is the first rape case you read about in the scriptures, or false, rape of a woman. Now we know before the flood they did everything wicked, so this ain't the first in the history of mankind, but just the first one we got on record with some kind of identification of the victim and the culprit, so to speak. And the victim was Dinah, and the culprit was a top man, a prince man, a leader of his people. All right, so, and we know the deal that was struck, and the deal that was struck between Jacob and the sons when he held his peace. So that means Jacob made him change his life, in his mannerism. He held his peace, and the sons come home and they answered deceitfully. And we know automatically from those that read the story that they answered with gal. So that means when they answered with gal, the deal that was offered, and I employed people to read what they proposed and how that Haman and their father presented the issue to their people. One of the things that the advantage of the deal was for Israel. That was a deal that the Israelites could live with, and that was a deal pretty much that they went forward through after the genocide of the men of Shechem. That's pretty much the deal. That they had the advantage from the deal in the first place. The way Haman's father presented it to the people was a little different. So when you look at the deal and what happened, and you bring them into the covenant of Abraham, then that is a very low thing, and a despicable thing, where it haunted Jacob even on his deathbed, decades later. And one of the things we got to look at, moving forward in this area is that when people, I always say, even when I spoke on the Sidra, people could be fighting or take up a cause for two different reasons. One could say, all right, when they say, should we treat our sister like a harlot? All right, you both could agree on that. But one might say, because she's my personal sister. And another will say, you shouldn't do that for any woman, whether it's our sister or any woman, period. So we could figure out which would be a moral issue if it's personal or it's immoral in general. So those are some of the questions you got to ask moving forward. And that's where I was stopping those every day. We get the chieftains of Esau and stuff like that, and who's the leadership of that, which is not a lineal leadership. So they use the term aloof, aloofim, which is, they translate in some books as chiefs or dukes, but it's not a royal line, so to speak. All right, so I'm gonna stop right there, and any questions, you could leave it on the chat. I like to listen to some of the various points and views, because this bears a lot of discussion in that particular chapter. And I'm going straight to the Psalm 140. And Psalm 140 is about 14 verses in the Psalm 140. And what's unique about the Psalm 140 is that you're going to have some parallels, not only with the Sidra, but also with Psalm 23. So, and it's a Psalm of David. And one of the things about the Psalm 140, that you're going to have some terms and stuff like that there that says, it's spelled one way. It said read, words that five terms and stuff like that that's only used here, place else in scriptures. And also you're going to have some things where three words in there that says it's written one way, but they tell you to read it another way, for those that have followed the Hebrew text in it. So you got some unique words that's only used in this particular song, 5 of them, and it's only 14 verses, but you're only going to find it in this particular song. And then you're going to have also some words, three words there. They would say it's written one way, but they tell you to read it another way. All right, and then you got the tetragrammaton mentioned 7 times within the psalm. So I'm doing that just to try to speed up this, the process a little bit. So we're going to try to go on, go read about it. And then we know that also that this psalm here, they say it could have been when Saul was after David and Doeg, the Edomite was after him, or Ahithophel, stuff like that. Different guys was after David. So David is on the run and got a lot of people after him. And it seems like a lot of his life, I'm on the run. I got enemies, you know, people out to get me. So this is one of the Psalms of David that's written. There's always controversy about when. It's always controversy about some of the meaning of some of the words that's used there within this particular psalm. All right, so we'll see if we can extrapolate some out of this. All right, you can start.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We're in the book of Psalms, chapter 140. For the leader, a psalm of David. Deliver me, O Yehovah, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man. Who devise evil things in their heart. Every day do they stir up wars. They have sharpened their tongue like a serpent. Viper's venom is under their lips. Salah.
Hold on right there. All right, so that's almost like a first prayer. The psalm is broken down into about 3 different types of prayer, prayers within the short prayers. And usually we see Salah there, it's like, hey, I'm finished with this part. I got to start another part. But the thing is that he said these guys are evil. Not only that, but he uses, Adam, and he uses the word Ish in there, different terms for man in that area there. And he uses the term Nakash, which is a serpent, but he also uses another term that's unfamiliar, which is, that they translate as spider or venomous apes. So, and a lot of times the power of life and death is sometimes used in the tongue. Sometimes people could persecute you, or, with the tongue, or they can bless you with the tongue. As we see right then and there, that a blessing is mostly verbally with Yaakov, and also Yaakov was careful of his words, just like when his father-in-law was careful with his words when he approached Yaakov. Yaakov was careful with his words when he addressed his brother Esau at this time. So, and we notice that your words could either make or break you, in the area, or can make and break other people. So, it's using those areas there as, in this case, the people that's after him is using it as venom, as poison. But continue from the 5th verse.
Verse 5. Keep me, O Yehovah, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent men who have purpose to make my steps slip. The proud have hid a snare for me and cords. They have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me. Salah.
I'll stop right there. Okay, so now we have these words here, from the word, Megal, and then Megal, and let me just turn to it, off the chart, in the psalm. Okay, 2. That's it. All right. Okay, just one moment. Okay, and we have a word in there, which is like Megal, which is like a circle or something that's going around, and but they also talk about the wicked guys earlier, which is the word Kamas. I just rushed through it, kind of rushing through it, pretty much. Kamas is like violent men you talked about earlier, and then when people set nets around, it's almost like the 23rd Psalm when it says, "Lead me through the path of righteousness for His name's sake." The terms, you can find unique terms for paths and stuff like that, and which course of action or which route you should take. So sometimes, the Creator will lead you around certain areas. The certain useful for violent men is Kamas. We have today, unfortunately, an Islamic group they call Kamas. And their thing is based on what they refer to as terrorism, so to speak. So it is strange that we have this word that already thousands of years was about people, that's about violence and terror. and that you have a group today that's referred to as Hamas. All right, but anyway, the Creator will take them through. Though they spread nets out, how do I walk through this pavement that has all kind of dangers? What path shall I lead, get through to get to the right, get through the other side safely? So this is what David is bringing out in one of his things, and then he's assured of it because they have set gens for me, all right, danger for me, Salah. But the Creator will guide him through. But go ahead, let's read the 7th verse.
Verse 7, it reads, I have said unto Yehovah, thou art my God. Give ear, O Yehovah, unto the voice of my supplications. O God, the Lord, the strength of my salvation, who has screened my head in the day of battle. Grant not, O Yehovah, the desires of the wicked. Further not his evil device, so that they exalt themselves, Selah.
All right, yeah, that's another sentence. So every time you see the word Salah, it's a pause, but these are different prayers that you're going back to back. That sounds like a desperate man. It's almost like you will have, like Yaakov himself. And you have this prayer, he making preparations in the prayer, and also he watching what he say, but he have a fear. He have a fear before from Laban, his father-in-law, and he got a fear of what he encounter. And sometimes the psalmist, like David, he don't feel like I'm worthy of this. Yaakov said, I wasn't worthy of all the kindness you showed me. Said, I know myself, if I was a judge, that I had to condemn myself. So this is some of the things that we read about in this particular psalm. Let's continue here on 10th verse.
Verse 10, it reads, As for the head of those that compass me about, let the mischief of their own lips cover them. Let the burning coals fall upon them. Let them be cast into the fire, into deep pits, that they rise not up again. A slanderer shall not be established in the earth. The violent and evil man shall be hunted with thrust upon thrust.
All right, there. In other words, David's saying, let all the stuff that they're trying to propose to do and what they're saying going to do, let their words hurt them. It's almost like parallel to where Abraham said, those that bless you will be blessed, those that curse you will be cursed. He that curse you will be cursed, rather. So now when we're looking at that area there, David's saying, what, don't you know the wicked sometimes pray to be able to be successful? They pray to be successful. Right. We think we ought to pray to be saved. The wicked pray to be successful. And that's what they look for. So, of course, the wickedness is a standard of principle done with great skill. And we're going to finish off with this last little verse here. 13.
Verse
13
reads, I know that Yehovah will maintain the cause of the poor and the right of the needy. Surely the righteous shall give thanks unto thy name. The upright shall dwell in thy presence. Hallelujah.
Okay, see, that can complete that particular psalm. It's a lot more I could have brought out in the psalm, maybe another time, but main thing, that it's a success. And David had these short prayers that he's bringing about, and he also reminded the Creator, from the Psalm 23, that even though they propose with their mouth, and they spit venom out, and they're not only thinking things, but they vocalizing what they want. And so if you're vocalizing what you want, it's almost like a prayer. Even what we have a history with Jezebel saying, in reference to Elijah, she put a curse on Elijah and said, but she included herself. If I don't do this here, such and such going to happen. So you have people sometimes with their mouth predict, a hurt against an innocent individual or somebody more worthy than themselves, and it turns upon their own selves. So that's why you got to be careful of what you say. We know that also the Torah that's for this particular portion of YAH, was Obadiah, the book of Obadiah. And the book of Obadiah is the only time you read the whole prophetic book in the year with the Torah was the book of Obadiah. And what's unique about it is that Obadiah, according to tradition and history, actually supposed to be a descendant of Esau, and also his prophecy is not mainly geared towards Israel, but it's geared towards Edom. And his mission was to prophesy against Edom. So that lets you know that And it's the same guy they referred to, according to history, that's supposed to have been a servant of Ahab at the time that actually wind up, he supposed to be one of the guys that hit 100, had hit 100 prophets in the cave, 50 by 50 by the same name, if he related to the same individual as a prophet. He was given a gift of prophecy, but he prophesied against Edom, because Edom himself, when we look at the Torah, is all about Edom trying to build up, all about Edom did his account against Jacob. It's about Edom when Babylon came in, that he had his throne there, and he took up some of the royalties and stuff of the brother Jacob, and he didn't treat him like a brother. Though Jacob in his prayer said, still called Esau a brother in his prayer to the Creator. So I hope you got something out of that. And I know it's kind of quick today, but any mistakes been my own, and make sure you leave anything in the chats if you have any questions about what I said. And like I said, everybody have an early Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Aleichem.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. May the Most High God continue to bless you. Shalom.